Hello everyone, and welcome to Fableheim and Iratis, Wrath of the Necromancer. It is finally time. Today, this Christmas day in 2020, we challenge the greatest difficulty in the game. We have taken on the first level of Eternal Harvest. We have slaughtered our foes in Eternal Harvest 3, the final, quote-unquote, fair version of the video game. And now today, our Supreme Necromancer goes all the way. I hope you're excited, because I am too. Now, there are a few things I would like to establish real quick before we go straight into it. First things first, as this is the hardest difficulty in the game, we're pretty much going to stick to what we know. So there's not going to be a whole lot of deviation or sciencing, etc., etc. We're pretty much going to stick with what we know works, and what we know is the most efficient way to approach the video game. And hopefully we can use our obtained knowledge from the past to win. And that's the goal. Also, I have prepared, as always, a special introduction for you to set the theme of our run. And this one is very different from the others. It took me a long time to make it. A lot longer than I thought it would. But I'm very happy with how it came out. And if you saw the video already, know that this time, Erratis has a response. Because he always has a response. You can't just let someone insult you like that. But anyway, we'll get into that after we go over what Eternal Harvest is. Eternal Harvest is a special mode for those eager to go one step beyond. Less starting resources, less battle rewards, enemy strength is constantly rising, elite enemies regularly join normal battles, enemies have a high chance to become inspired, minions do not recover vigor out of battle, Erratis does not recover any mana out of battle, and graveyard efficiency is constantly decreasing. At Eternal Harvest 5, all of these negatives are at their peak. The world itself is against us, and fate will use us as its pawn. On that note, have you heard the tragedy of Erratis, Lord of the Dead? You ever hear the tragedy of Erratis, Lord of the Dead? It is a forgotten legend. Erratis was a supreme Lord of the Dead, so powerful and so wise. He could use necromancy to influence curses to defy life. He had such a knowledge of the dark art that he could even control fate itself. He could actually control fate? The dark art of necromancy is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. What happened to him? He became so powerful. The only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he forgot that fate makes puppets of us all. Then he was turned into its greatest puppet, a tool to repeatedly cleanse the living world of corruption. It's ironic. He could control the fate of others, but not himself. Is it possible to learn this power? Not from the living.
Fate. A necromancer knows much about fate. Would you like me to tell you what it is? Death. It is the inescapable end that awaits all mortals. Especially the sanctimonious idiots who presume to use me. I am nobody's puppet. I am the puppet master, and in death you will all dance upon my strings.
Yes, we truly are nobody's puppet. Not even fate itself, which is why the theme for this run is to challenge and overcome that fate, beset by fate itself, the Nornir, or the stranger none can keep Iratus the the Supreme Lord of the Dead, imprisoned. Especially those sanctimonious idiots who presume to use him. So, we shall begin. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a trick that I've learned courtesy of Scott, but as I was doing it, I realized that it causes me to skip a few things, and I don't want to skip anything. I want to share every moment of beauty and destruction with all of you. So, here we go. If you want to begin the game with no creations, by default, it begins you with a Skeleton, Dark Knight, Wraith, and Banshee? Anyway, if you want to turn that off, it's in the option settings. This one. Generate initial squad at start. If you turn it off, uncheck it, it will just give you the parts that it used to create them instead. So you'll have to create your own creations. The trick that I've learned, thank you again, Scott, we're going to make a Wraith. The reason I've picked the Wraith, you can't go to the map without creating a creation. The reason I've chosen the Wraith...
Why do I get this sinking feeling in my putrefied gut?
Good question. Even though it's not a part of our initial composition, which I could just make one of them. I've chosen the Wraith because the first building we're going to build is the Obelisk, and I do have something I've learned about the Obelisk. But we'll approach that once we're in the actual run. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to do a map trick. It's an old map trick used in many roguelites and speedrun stuff, so I'm really not sure why I didn't think of it before, but doing so causes me to skip this, and I love reading this. So we're going to go ahead and read this now, and then I'll cut to whenever I find the map I'm looking for. So here we go. The kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle, great veins of iron that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarves were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions for the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies that could obey, and that the humans could provide. With dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels, there was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper, year after year, unaware of the mortal danger that awaited them below. That's me. My ever so clever joke. So, the speedrun / ideal trick that Scott told me about is you can see the layout of the dungeon and it changes every playthrough, which adds to the replayability of the game. And this one's kind of condensed, very thin as we extend upwards, and that's not what we're looking for. We want a floor map that is very wide and allows us to go to crisscross and farm a lot of encounters at the very beginning of the game because that's the most challenging time of the game. We want to farm a ton of encounters so we can boost our characters and Iratus' level itself to be higher, to have a better chance of conquering the ever-living nightmare that awaits us in the Dwarfen Tunnels. So, I will see you once I have generated that magical map.
2 hours later.
34 attempts later, we have found the map that we want. Oh, that was a headache. Okay, well, so this is the layout that we like. For those who watched the previous series, this is also the layout we got on the 6th floor, the symmetry. And basically, the reason we want this layout is very simple. We can use this layout to zig and zag across the map to get the most possible experience, items, artifacts, whatever, to be fine moving forward, to get ourselves, to boost ourselves out of the nightmare that is Eternal Harvest 5. So we'll pick our path in a second, just taking a quick overlook to see if there's a particular direction we want. Usually I love coffins, but this early on, while coffins are nifty, we're gonna need a few things first. Just a few. Like experience. Okay, but moving forward, what is our composition that we're gonna... Thank you, Wraith, you were helpful. What is the composition that we are going to use to dominate? It is the composition that we have used for a few series now. I believe this to be the strongest out of the gate composition that doesn't really need items to succeed. Of course, first, we have the Bone Golem.
Aha! This is what a necromancer's war machine looks like.
There is no greater frontliner than the Bone Golem. It doesn't matter if your group is for attacking vigor, magic, physical, or stress, the Bone Golem is there to guide you to victory. Next, the Black Widow. A bit of a black horse, if you will. I struggled many times to make the Black Widow work, and I think I finally cracked the code after so many failures. She is a second liner character, I believe, that is very good at protecting others with her cocoon, but her biggest use, in my opinion, is the Silken Pole upgrade, which is Fatal Bondage, which removes all block and ward. And in Eternal Harvest 5, this is going to be double, triply, quadruply important, because you're about to find out just how much block and ward exists in the video game. Third position, the new character, the Reaper. Anyone who has purchased Wrath of the Necromancer has the Reaper immediately unlocked, and he is... I don't even know. He's tiers and above beyond everyone else at everything, pretty much. Except he's not the best frontliner until super late game when you have all of his wards and defensive stuff. So our Reaper will be in the third position. One block and one ward by default does make him ever so slightly safer. Not that much though. And in the third position, he can use the ability that we'll be basically scaling off of, which is Agony, that applies both an ignition and a curse, a dot to both their health and their sanity, and we'll be upgrading that into Agony of Fire to cause more health damage. Of course, with magical attacks, this will ignore block, which is the biggest obstacle right out of the gate. There are wards on the first floor, but there are way more blocks than there are wards. And the magic to make it all happen, the super scaler beyond scaling, the Blood Phantasm. Oh, this is going to be something. The Blood Phantasm is the character that I've scaled to do the most amount of damage in the entire video game. I have hit 4-digit numbers with the Blood Phantasm, and I know people who've hit harder.
You, my bloody hand, I your vengeful eyes.
And all of it comes around to the Blood Phantasm's Chains of Anger upgrade into Moaning Chains. This deals physical damage, and then it will deal bonus physical damage for each buff and debuff on the enemy target. We have a debuff naturally from the Black Widow's feature, and we have a debuff, of course, 2 debuffs from the Reaper's Agony. So that's the plan. Now early on we're going to be facing a lot of blocks, and we won't have the upgrade from the Black Widow at level 1 to remove them all. So I've been sitting here thinking for a while of how we're going to counter this. One counter would be to sit the Blood Phantasm out for a little bit and get a Lich in here, who has remarkable magical damage, even at level 1. But I think we're going to try and keep the Blood Phantasm around to give him some experience, and we'll just be using the Mark on our front lines so that whenever someone hits them, they will take magical damage. I think that's going to be the plan. We'll see how it works. Now, I mentioned... before we get into the graveyard, let's talk about the talents. We have no Digger Souls. We have basically no resources, really, when you're beginning on Eternal Harvest 5. But we do have a talent point. And I believe, firmly, that a strong foundation leads to success. So our very first talent point is going to go into Architecture buff. This will increase the amount of Digger Souls received at the end of combat by 25%, which is what's used to construct the graveyard. So the more Digger Souls you get early on, the more passive benefits you can gain by building structures in your graveyard.
Through transformation, the will becomes free.
Now, I believe alchemy, it's very important to rush towards gray matter as soon as possible, especially on Eternal Harvest, to increase the chance of getting brains in case someone gets one-shot by some absolute bullshit, which is bound to happen. But before we can rush towards gray matter, we need to rush towards Advanced Ballistics. This gives all minions at all times, no matter what, plus 12 accuracy. and I hate missing. So we're going to be needing this very soon. It takes 1, 2, 4 points total. So we'll be trying to get Erratis some experience as we can. Now, moving on to the graveyard before we name our characters and I show everyone a surprise. We can't build anything yet because we have no Digger Souls, thank you Eternal Harvest. But usually my strategy with the graveyard is pretty straightforward. I rush the obelisk and the library, like go back and forth, obelisk, library, because the obelisk provides additional Digger Souls, which allows you to build the graveyard faster. The library provides additional experience for Erratis after every combat that's not a quest. And then I do the rest of the graveyard. I was looking around the Discord, and there wasn't too much I could learn. We've done, or decided, or explored most of that on our own, but there was a strategy that kind of stuck out to me. And that was what some people were calling a cheesy strategy, which is when you have a group that you like, which is this group is very reliable. You basically, they were saying, you rush the obelisk to level 4, which is the cap, to get as many Digger Souls as possible. Then you ignore the graveyard and use all of your newly acquired Digger Soul generation to upgrade all of the parts for the creation of your main party. There's no real way to describe that strategy besides going balls deep. Like, you're honing in on a single thing and putting all of your eggs into a single basket. I don't know if I can get behind that. But you can let me know what you think of that strategy if you think we should try it. Like I said, it's not too far deviated from what I usually do, which is obelisk and library prioritized above all other things. We could try that idea in that we level up the obelisk and the library, and then we ignore the graveyard for a bit, because I kind of ignore it anyway, for the most part. Like, I think the compromise to this strat would be to fully upgrade obelisk, library, and then just one in the Abode Wrath, Dead Lake, Excavation, and Statue, and then we start dedicating Digger Souls to our creations parts. I do think that's one thing we could try, and I'm kind of leaning towards that unless there's vocalization of other things, but like I said, I don't know if I want to commit that hard. But before we march into the map, I will be right back because I have some names to designate. And we have returned. As always, if you have a name suggestion, please leave it down below at any time. I do have a creation list TM, which I keep track of all of the names, and I even carry it across series. So I have some name suggestions for you that were a part of the previous series and have made their way here to Eternal Harvest 5. First things first, this one is a personal touch. For quite some time now, I have had, well, actually, ever since this skin in particular came out with Wrath of the Necromancer, I have always named the Bone Golem after Carnunos, the wild god of Gaelic folklore, and his nickname was the Horned One. It had a, shall we say, a dual meaning, both that he had horns and that, well, he enjoyed procreating. So we'll be going with just his title, the Horned One, as we went with Carnunos and then Karananya in the last series. Now it's just the Horned One. And as you can see, he is indeed horned. For our beloved Black Widow, we will be going with Chazakiel's suggestion of Azrael. Now, Chazakiel, when they recommended this name, they did recommend it for a vampire, so I am once again repurposing your name, and they said that Azrael was the angel of greed and envy. My own research didn't mention that too much, but I trust you. But more so that Azrael was the angel of death, and he was a more benevolent angel of death than, you know, something like Samael, who was a fallen angel that was malevolent. And I figured it was quite appropriate. The greed and envy bit appropriate for this skin, which is the Black Widow's initial off skin, because she has a crown and quite a bit of gold. But also because the Black Widow, while inflicting harm upon her foes, is also quite benevolent in that she can protect her friend. Of course, only the third position character, which is whoever we have there at the moment. So I thought this was quite appropriate for good old Azrael. Moving on to the Reaper, I didn't actually have a Reaper name left, but in the last series we had a Reaper who didn't live quite long enough. His existence was quite short in the grand scheme of things, so we have the return of La Parca, which was suggested by Mac. I believe in Spanish this just means the Grim Reaper or the Reaper, and it has a very long history actually, that it is referencing the Roman Three Sisters of Fate, specifically the Sister of Death, the one that cuts the thread. So, long history there. I like this name a lot, and it allows me to speak some Spanish, even though I'm not particularly good at it. So, La Parca is here once again until he falls over. Reapers do have a tendency to do that, so please supply me with some more Grim Reaper names. And last, but not least, courtesy of Mashariv, I love saying your name, we have Heimdall, the Norse god, the watcher of the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost, and the drunkard that warns anyone of intruders. It's kind of nifty, isn't it? He gets to sit around all day drinking, he helped Frey out, he watches the Bifrost. Pretty nifty, I would say. So that is our initial team. Of course, like I mentioned, I'm very low on names, so if you have any name suggestions for any creatures, please do let me know. I have a few more, but they're for creatures that are kind of off-ball. Ball off? What? Anyway, creatures we might not be using. So we'll see if they do indeed make an appearance. So finally, without further ado, let us begin and see what sort of nightmare we are up against. I'm so excited. Well, would you look at that? That's 4 block. And that's a stance. Well, I don't like stances. This cannot miss. That's a very convenient ability to have, by the way. Not missing. I do enjoy that. Now, we have no armor here. We do have... Is that... Okay. That is 75% luck, though. Wow. It's kind of crazy. I think we'll go ahead and pull the miner to try and get this debuff to reduce... Ow. Reduce damage dealt, because the miner is the biggest threat here, just by what you just saw. We can go ahead... I'm a little afraid of the hunky... Oh, of course you would. A little afraid of the hunky as well, but there's not a whole lot I can do. I suppose I could try and Spider Strike the conscript. Apply 2 debuffs, see if Heimdall can give him the smack. This is, of course, a little risky, due to the fact that Azrael is already super duper low. And I'm really not sure what to do about that. I guess we're going to try and smack the conscript. He is sitting at 21% evasion. I had to open my mouth. I might try and reposition the Horned One into first position, because there's not a whole lot left for Azrael to do, besides look adorable. So she might go into her cocoon here in a moment. En un momento. That was some good damage. And unfortunately... I think we're going to try and burn down the miner, because I am very afraid of what he does. In the cocoon, we will recover... How much is it? 8%? 6%? Something like that. A certain percentage of our health every single turn. I could do this. Let's slap and see how much this does. Not too much. You know what? I think we're in the battle of attrition here, so let's do the permanent slapperoo. All 3 are going next. I probably have to recover with the Horned One. We don't have his item yet, so I would like to see a Cultist soon TM. Owie. Everyone going for Azrael. It hurts a lot. We are now in a position where we cannot return to our cocoon. It's 4%, okay. But we're in a pretty good position to kill people. I can try and set up the conscript's death. I think the hunky is more dangerous. We'll see if we can use La Parca to proc his feature, which will restore 10% vigor to everyone. Not quite, not quite. Are you dead? No. Alright.
Ooh, this one voided its bowels just as it died.
We'll go ahead and protect Azrael, even though I don't know if they can reach that far. We should probably investigate. It looks like La Parca is not long for this world, but... Thank you for some healing. Now, how do we heal back from this, you may ask? Great question. Unfortunately, we're going to have to try and milk as much healing as possible from every single turn. So... that is the plan.
You know, if this keeps up,
Already the Phantom Clothes.
World ahead of schedule.
Sorry, Erratis, I didn't mean to speak over you. I was just surprised. So the Phantom Clothes, let's take a look real quick. The Wraith receives 5 evasion for each block or ward applied. This helps the Wraith become the tankiest thing the world has ever seen. Unfortunately, it does take quite some time for the Wraith to actually build up to the level where their evasion makes a big difference. So I'm not sure if we'll be seeing one anytime soon. Now then, we have a choice to make. Left or right? My instinct is telling me to go left because there's a cultist here, which the Horned One pretty desperately needs to not die. That is a pretty big deal. The goal, the whole reason I reloaded 34 times, was so that we could get this particular layout, to go back and forth and back and forth. So I need to make sure that whichever path we take, we can go back and forth quite happily. And it looks like, unfortunately, no matter which path I take, we are going to wind up in this elite battle, which is not only slightly sketchy, but super sketchy. It is also worth noting that both the Soul Springs and the Steels, which are things I may have avoided in the past, are very desirable to us at the moment. Cultists, not entirely, but I'm kind of inclined to go to the left here, and we can go this way, then take this huge zag here. Probably this way. Actually, this way would probably be better. More experience, if I can actually manage those fights. Steel thing. Another elite battle. That's not sketch at all. Quest. I think it is to the left. To the left, to the left. There's just too much random stuff over here. I don't need all those cultists for a while. Alright. To the left it is. These are fountains in both positions. But I don't think this helps us at all. Unless we get super duper lucky with the Ancient Coffin and find armored plates, this doesn't help us much. Whereas this is a guaranteed to get an item that we need. What if we go this way? Double steel and soul spring? Then we have to go this way. Lots of fighting. Another cultist, altar. The only problem with altars is we're going to have to use a lot of parts. I think if we're going to rush steels, we might want to go this way. Oh yeah, I see all the steels. Wait, which way was it? This way? I'm already confused. I have confused myself. Like this. Okay, beautiful. We have determined our path. So for the Blood Phantasm, I don't really care for this item very much. Each character attacking the Blood Phantasm receives ignition that deals 20.
An enchanted map like this is pretty handy.
True. Each character attacking the Blood Phantasm receives ignition that deals 20 true damage each turn for 3 turns. There is an upgrade for the Blood Phantasm stance that allows them to take hits for someone else and then heals the rest of the group that this synergizes with quite well. But on this difficulty, that sounds like a dead Blood Phantasm to me. However, because he does have some baseline armor early on, this could be useful. The Hourglass of Doom, such a good item. Each time Erratis uses an active talent, the Reaper increases Erratis' spell power by 12 until the end of battle, stacking up to 5 times. This wins games. Unfortunately, it is more of a mid to late game item, so we do not need this yet. The Venom Spikes, the Black Widow's attacks, except for the counter damage dealt by Spiky Cocoon, also increases the Spider Venom effect by 1. Very good. But unfortunately, this is more of a we're already safe and healthy. So get the Venom Spikes. And we are not quite yet there. The item we'll be picking up is the Stack of Bones. For each 10 points of vigor missing, the damage the Bone Golem receives is decreased by 2.5%. The lower health the Horned One becomes, the more defensive he is. This is what makes the Bone Golem uber thick. Of course, we will want an item to accompany this. The armor plates would be best, but in a worst case scenario, we might just make it now. Am I dumb for doing that? Nah. Using alchemy, you can make some items, and I think it's going to be safe to do this. These aren't always particularly good items. I think the best one is the Misery Cord, which increases physical damage dealt by 10%. Heimdall would like this. And the Steel Spikes, which reduces physical damage received by 10%. Right now, there is a lot of that. So we'll be making that and giving it to the Horned One. And this will...
Ah, the smell of successful alchemy.
This will, of course, stack with the Stack of Bones, making the Horned One very challenging to murder. Our composition that we are fighting is Spearman. Is that Hunky or Conscript? I hope it's Conscript. And Spearman. Spearmen are very dangerous only if you let their stance get the better of you. We don't have this talent yet, which makes me a tiny bit sad, but I'm thinking about... is this only 15%? Is this even worth? We'll distill once. We could... It might even just be worth to make a second Black Widow. I need her to get to level 3, though.
Behold my word.
This is gonna hurt. It's fine. We don't need Azrael to do a whole lot of stuff. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. It is double conscript. Good. I say that and I still get fucking owned. So in a perfect world, Azrael here would be using the Poison Spit to remove some of the armor of the guards. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and I'm probably going to have to just cocoon my entire existence. Which is why she needs more health as soon as humanly possible. There's not a whole lot we can do. The damage of the conscript is certainly far more dangerous than the damage of the guards, but they do hit 2 people at once. Great. Like that. And I have a feeling good old Azrael is going to get hit a lot. Actually, let's mark her. This mark does not increase the chance of being attacked, but it does provide some retaliation in case she is attacked. With the Stack of Bones, the Horned One can actually get his health quite low now. I could try and be a little aggressive, but I think we're going to try and be defensive, which is something new to me. For those newer to the channel, my motto is be aggressive. So this is quite unusual, but I think it is the play. This stance from the Spearman? Guard. I don't know why I keep calling him Spearman. Whenever a minion moves, attack it for damage, and they can attack within this stance. Thankfully, we aren't going to be doing a whole lot of moving ourselves, so they're just going to sit there. I'm not scared of that stance. The stance I am concerned of is the conscript stance, which deals damage based on, well, just damage. Doesn't really care about much. Again, I would love to apply some debuffs here, maybe reduce your accuracy so Heimdall could get a good smack, but I am very concerned for the safety of Azrael. So, again, we're going to be sitting here. Unfortunately, the Horned One does need to recover some HP. I do really want to mark Azrael, but I also want to hate Eternal because we're fighting a battle of attrition here. So we'll set some people on fire and go from there. Now, thankfully, the reason why I wanted these to be conscripts, and they were, thankfully, is because they can't move us, which is very good. See if we can kill this. Well, it's dead. Unfortunately, we didn't get the kill with the Particle, which would have restored some of our health, but you take your wins where you can get them. you know? But the hunkies, I just remember what I was thinking about. The hunkies can move you with their hammers, and of course by moving you, that will trigger the stance of the guards,
Them in with the rest.
which would be very painful. We are continuing our defensive play. Just so weird. Now, of course. Maybe I should just go after the guards, because I'm far more confident that I can hit them. But I think we're going to delay and see if we can get up to 50 Wrath. Thanks. I'm not really surprised. And even though this spell, the heal, does move the Horned One forward, the Horned One can't actually move, so it doesn't trigger the stance of the guards. Very convenient. Now, because the conscript is dodging everything, a shocker to hopefully no one, I am going to focus on the guards, who are less evasive. It is pretty nifty that they hit two people at once, and usually are hitting Azrael in some way, shape, or form, so... The guards should be dead here in but a moment. En un momento. I do also... I mentioned the spiky cocoon earlier, when we were talking about the venom spikes, and basically it makes it so that whenever someone attacks the cocooned Black Widow, she will counterattack them for some physical damage. It's not the best in the world, but it does apply a stack of her venom. So I am very interested in picking that up.
Become part of the breathless tide.
Good. We had Laparca's dot killed that one, so we got some health back. Just a tiny bit. We can kill you. Perfect. And you can probably die. Close, 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 close. Actually, Laparca might be able to get the kill here. Maybe. We'll see. Yep, nice. Almost full health. Perfect.
Mine is the winning side.
Perfect. Everyone has reached level 2. The reason why I didn't swap out Azrael is because we really need level 3 on her. So for Heimdall, it is very important that we pick up accuracy. We are going to get 12 accuracy from our Ire talent, but it's very important that we don't miss. Even though we aren't doing a whole lot of hitting with Heimdall due to the fact that we're using Mark of Retribution, but... The similar case for Laparca. I really didn't like missing with Agony, so we'll double point that. I could have put 1 point in attack or something, but that will come with time. Now, Azrael, normally I would put this point into accuracy. If you're using a Black Widow in this defensive debuff capacity, you really need her to hit her abilities. But we are going to put this first point into Vigor. Hopefully, 145 does give us 1 more hit point of recovery. I think it does. I think that went up from 5 to 6. Maybe not. But that's why we're scaling up per Vigor. As for the Horned One, it is a very similar situation. Vigor, all day, every day. Let's see. We'll hold on to this 1 point, because then we can upgrade this next time, and then we'll be able to upgrade it again. Now for the Sacrificial Altar, I always sacrifice the exact same thing. I even have a ritual, a tradition if you will, to try and appease the dark gods of the void.
To him, the world is as hollow as his armor.
Iratus, a long time, a friend of the channel who loves the Dark Knight more than perhaps words can explain. When you sacrifice something at the altar, each creation has its own consumable artifact that it will give you guaranteed, and if you already have that artifact, it will give you something random. And the Dark Knight just gives you, well, happens to give you, the Book of Ancient Wisdom. After winning a battle, Erratis additionally gains plus 100 experience from the current level. Since we are rushing towards advanced ballistics to gain additional accuracy, this is super duper important. And thanks to Solus, and I believe Scott, and maybe a few others, we also got a Halo of Chaos, by the way. Start of each turn, the minion receives 1 random bonus until the end of turn. It is a random bonus, and not just random. but very strong. There are no buffs in the game that equal how strong this buff is. So we'll be taking the Hail of Chaos. Last time I gave it to the Blood Phantasm, and well, history is fond of repeating itself. So Heimdall, please show us some beautiful chaos. I actually wonder how this scales with the mark. Because one of the buffs is plus 30% damage. If we get the damage, and then I apply the mark, will the damage stay at the plus 30% even when that buff changes? Or is it, what's the word? Retroactive? So if I apply the buff and then I get the plus 30% damage next turn, will the mark suddenly scale up? I don't know. These are the questions I have. I don't know the answer to them. Maybe we'll find out today. Who knows? But anyway, what Solus, Scott, and maybe a few others pointed out is that it's always worth using the Book of Ancient Wisdom the moment you get it. Even if you're going into a battle that doesn't give you a whole lot of experience, you want to just pop this right away.
Fetch.
Because that bonus experience could perhaps level up Erratis, it usually does, which will then increase Erratis' passive bonus scaling from the library, even if you didn't get a whole lot of it. So that's pretty important. As I mentioned, we got the architecture buff. Now we are rushing towards advanced ballistic for additional accuracy, so we're going to get Wrath Unchained.
I need nothing but my anger to purge this world.
All non-summoned minions. There aren't very many you can summon. The Lich can summon a minion, and you can use the magic talent Conjure Shadows to summon a minion, which, by the way, was nerfed in the most recent patch. It wasn't a very big patch. It fixed some bugs, and it nerfed Conjure Shadows, which surprised me. It used to be 20 or 25 mana, and its spell power used to reduce mana by 0.4%. Now it costs 40 mana, and the spell power reduces by 0.2%. So I'm not sure if they thought that it was becoming free too soon, so they nerfed it, or maybe they made it better, and so they had to compensate with its cost. I'm not sure. I've never used it. I might have used it once. Nah, I've never used that ability. We are moving forth with our book equipped, Book of Ancient Wisdom. And we're going to be challenging 2 conscripts and a miner. The monstrosity of 4 blocks returns to us. I've already been recording for an hour. But some of that was me actually a bit of that was me messing around with the map. So, because I hate this stance and don't want to get hit for that much damage, boop. Now with the miner is the greatest threat to our safety, to our existence, to our well-being. But he's not out of range of anything. So I think we're going to go back to our defensive strategy. We'll be having Azrael in her cocoon. We will mark her so that any attacks that come her direction will be... Any attacks that come towards Laparca will be redirected to Azrael. And of course, any attacks on Azrael will cause damage reflection. No one here can... Actually, the miner can move people, can't they? I think they can. The miner can pull people forward, which will interrupt our stance. But hopefully he doesn't do it. I think he just did it, but it didn't pull us. Can I not be moved in this? Pretty sure that should have pulled me. Anyway. Back to stance interruption. As we are fighting a battle of attrition, I will continue to set people on fire. I would love nothing more than to spider strike these conscripts. Lol, get wrecked. But I think we're going to remain in our cocoon for now. As I mentioned, Laparca is not the sturdiest thing in the world. He's a little sturdy, but not too sturdy. Although, he can scale his armor and resistance really, really high. It's actually kind of alarming how high he can scale that. I might be able to kill the miner with Azrael. Okay. If Laparca was going next, I'd use him so they can get the heal proc, but he's not. So we'll go ahead and kill the miner. Maybe I could have waited. You know, we'll just put this on the horned one. Now no matter who they hit, they'll take damage. Well. And
ashes
that's
to ashes, dust to dust.
why I needed to protect you. Okay. Good to know. Back to the cocoon. We'll be defensive again. We'll take this slow. Slow, love, slow. It's a great song.
So, this is what 1,000 years of evolution looks like? Yeah, pathetic.
I could Spider Strike her and try to kill her with Heimdall. Kill it with Heimdall, but Heimdall still doesn't have Moaning Chains, so it's not like he's the best at this yet. Moaning Chains is going to make a big difference. You're fleeing? No, 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 no. No. No fleeing allowed.
As your suffering ends, your service begins.
Level 3 brain. Does that mean we're level 3? Nice. Oh, 2. Aw, you're right there. You need one more experience point. Anyway, Azrael has reached level 3, which is pretty important because now we can get Fatal Bondage. The target loses all block and ward. This also provides us with 2% evasion, but that's not a big deal. The Black Widow is not an evader. So we'll be putting points in accuracy, as I mentioned, because we need this. It's pretty important. We'll be holding points again to do that. Actually, we'll put this 1 point in initiative. It's also pretty important that Azrael goes first, whether you need her to protect a friend or whether you need her to remove block and wards for the rest of your team to do their thing. So initiative is very important as well as accuracy and vigor. That's pretty much what you want to max out with her, and then from there, you can kind of follow your heart. I wouldn't recommend going after attack or dread, even though she only has 1 dread attack, which is this one. But hey, if you want to, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You can do whatever you want. With the Horned One, there are 2 paths here, 2 abilities in particular that are very important. In fact, I pretty much ignore the rest. And that is the Nefarious Engine, which we've been using to heal, and the Bone Armor, which we've been using to apply block plus 2 block to our friends. We are going to upgrade the Nefarious Engine first into the Abyssal Engine. Oh, the Library of Ruina has been updated. I turned that back on, by the way, so that people could see the updates of what I follow just for fun. And I can comment on it when I see it, because everyone will know what's happening. The Abyssal Engine will increase the healing from 10% to 20%. This is a huge deal. I have never seen nor understood why anyone would go with Artificial Hatred, which keeps the healing at 10% but removes all debuffs from the golem. I suppose there are instances where this could be helpful, but there are plenty of ways to remove debuffs from either other creations or from Erratis himself, so more health.
Get back to battle.
It also does give us plus 2 armor, which while not incredibly significant, is neat. It's not significant. Unfortunately, Lapartica and Heimdall remain at level 2, but they'll be joining us shortly. Thanks to our book, we have 2 talent points.
This fury.
We'll be using Amok. Well, maybe. We'll be selecting Amok. I don't know if we'll be using it yet. This gives a target minion plus 6 attack and plus 6 dread until the end of battle. However, it removes 12 luck. This is one way to increase the damage of a character, but, this is a big but, minus 12 luck can bring you into negative luck. When with negative luck, that increases the chances that your opponents will crit you. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. With our exactly 25 Digger Souls, we will be constructing the Obelisk. The mystical obelisk attracts wandering souls. Every minion next to it, or within it, generates 3 to 5 Digger Souls. Applies after a victory except quest battle.
The cold-edged stone of the obelisk hums with the power of souls drawn towards it. Many ancient monuments were built for exactly this purpose.
So once again, the cheese strategy that I saw on the Discord, is it really cheese if it works? And I do love me some cheese. Is to pretty much ignore the rest of the graveyard and just throw points into the obelisk. Again, I'm not sure or more importantly, once the obelisk is level 4, then you spend your Digger Souls on upgrading your characters to make them more durable. I'm not a huge fan of that because the library is super important in my mind. Each minion studying ancient books gives Erratis plus 20 experience and plus 8% of the experience from the current level, applies after a victory. I think this is super important to scale, because there are some talents that we really need. Not only advanced ballistics, but here in alchemy, additional chance to receive brains helps you recover, artifacts increases the power of Erratis, better parts you can use to increase your creation's power. In magic, there's Dispel, which is low-key the best ability in the game. And we can ignore the Distraction Tree. And Ire has his own passive benefit route. Like, I think leveling Erratis is super duper important. So you can let me know what you think of that so-called cheese, and we'll march forward. Speaking of Digger Souls, 26? Let's construct a library.
Every war needs its generals.
It's library time.
How unfortunate that I need to rely on mortal knowledge to recover my powers. It's akin to trying to quell hunger with breadcrumbs.
Not from the living. Alright, we'll go ahead and fight perhaps our last battle of today. We have a guard, a double conscript, and an overseer. Will Laparca survive? That, my friends, is the golden question. We might have to play super... Well, we've already been playing super defensive, but extra defensive. Well, that's a problem. That is a problem.
Strength through pain.
So I was wrong. These are not conscripts. These are hunkies, which means we need to kill them super fast because of that. Great. You might be wondering, what is the danger here? I'm glad you asked. As you saw, the hunkies have a tendency to throw their hammers at people and move them. Moving is a twofold tragedy for us. First tragedy, the Overseer likes to throw traps at people. Heimdall is currently trapped. Heimdall himself cannot move. However, Azrael, or Laparca, could be knocked into Heimdall, and thus being trapped and taking physical damage. Additionally, the guard can hinder his stance to deal damage to us whenever we're moved. So I think we're going to take this opportunity to delay Azrael's turn, see if these two decide to throw their hammers. I'm shocked. And then we will enter the cocoon. Trying to think of how this is actually going to work. I think we're okay. So we move forward with the horned one. Look at that healing. Oh, it's beautiful. How do I want to do this? I could try and slap this hunky that's buffed. He's dealing a lot more damage. And with the double buff, I'll gain 2 bonuses from Chains of Anger. I could even lean into it and put on a muck. Unfortunately, well, these guys already have a 75% chance to crit me. But if I do that, I can't move Azrael, who I do want to be in this position. So I think we'll play this safe play again. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, huh? Because she's going... Well, we'll see. We'll see if it matters. It might. It's not going to. I guess we'll cocoon. We'll try and protect Laparca if we can. I don't see it happening, but I see it being possible. Let's see what fate has in store. He tried to stun me there. Yeah, rude sod. Yes, debuff the cocoon. Debuff the cocoon. You know you want to. Let's see if we can slam. I could set them on fire again, but let's slam. Oh yeah. We're not even at Moaning Chains yet, and we're still slapping for that much. Feels good. Slap like a champion, Heimdall. Your power will only grow. Oh no. I was debuffed. Ah, there's the stun. It was bound to happen eventually. Alright, well, off with your head. Well, okay. The war of attrition.
This never gets old.
You thought that you could outlast my master plan. Well, aren't you in for a rude awakening? So he's dead. By the way, if the Taskmaster dies, his allies regain 30 sanity. Not a big deal for us in our current build, so I'm not that concerned. It is a bit of a problem, though, if you are doing a stress build, which is a lot of fun, by the way. I do endorse stress builds, but, this is a large but, in Good Always Wins and Eternal Harvest, you do need the artifact of the Shackles of War. You need it. That makes it so that enemies cannot run and they cannot become inspired.
This is my kind of entertainment.
Which, think of inspired... What's it called in Darkest Dungeon? Is it called Inspiration in Darkest Dungeon as well? No. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, whenever enemies reach a certain percentage, 50% sometimes, they will have a chance to become inspired or to go insane. And that's... Ow. That doesn't exist on the lower difficulties, but it doesn't exist on Good Always Wins and Eternal Harvest. And inspiration buffs, it fully restores their sanity, and they're very strong. Like, super strong.
My will is a tide
A blue
that
weapon
will wash
already.
away your pathetic civilizations.
Oh, ho, ho. With 2 talent points, we finally get Advanced Ballistics.
Rivers will run red.
Ah, the days of missing are nearly over. At least until later. So now that we have achieved Advanced Ballistics, we've gotten what we wanted, we're going to go back to the Alchemy Tree, and we're going to be spending a lot of time here. I want Relic Seeker to increase our chance of finding artifacts. I want Grey Matter for more brains in case something goes horribly awry, which it will undoubtedly do. I want Amateur Surgeon to increase our chance of finding better parts so that we can use them for our creations. I want Surgical Practice to improve that even further. We might next get Advanced Doctorate. This increases the healing our minions receive using Distillation by 100%, so we go from 15% health recovered to 30. It's a pretty big deal. We won't get this for a while, but Experimental Calcination does the same. So whenever we are using alchemy to restore our mana, instead of 20, it's 40. Big deal. Also, there are some passive benefits besides the accuracy one lingering in the alchemy tree, such as this +6 luck and this +8 figure. Is there anything? I think that's it then. Besides this +3 dread from magic. Yeah. Once we complete the alchemy tree, not complete, but once we get most of the things we want here, we'll probably move into magic, where Dispel is the low-key best spell in the game. And Fate's pretty good as well, especially with Heimdall. Oh, Additional Evasion, I forgot about that one. Arcana Antediluvian is also pretty important. It will just give us 5 mana after every turn. That's kind of where we're headed for those curious. The Parka has gained a rank, and I'm pretty sure the most important thing for us to do is to upgrade Agony into Agony of Fire.
My enemies are in for a nasty surprise.
Our next upgrade is probably going to be Drain into Desiccate. This upgrade path is actually quite fascinating to me. And I really like Expunge. This will force enemies to undergo a sanity check to either become insane or become inspired. It's super double-edged on Good Always Wins and higher, unless you have the Shackles of War equipped. But Desiccate is really safe. It allows the stance interruption to ignore block and ward, which is very helpful for countering a particular enemy on this floor that when they enter their stance, they apply ward to themselves. So we're probably going to get Desiccate next. As far as stats are concerned, I'm trying to remember how high the evasion goes on this floor, and I don't think it's too much higher. But we will use these 2 points to get additional accuracy. Might also give the weapon to Lapartica, but Lapartica is very low health, so I'm afraid he might fall over, and we'll see what happens in the next combat. Heimdall, the most important upgrade amongst all of this. Actually, we've been playing super defensive. Do we want Mark of Vengeance? The Aura of Retribution causes the mark to last for 3 turns. That could be nifty. But I think we want Mark of Vengeance. This increases the damage of the counter from 100% to 140%. So this scales pretty high. Of course, the really important item upgrade for us to get is the Moaning Chains. This increases the potential damage throughput of Heimdall by an insane amount. But as I mentioned, we are playing super defensive. What are we coming up against? That might actually decide what I want first. Let's get this first. We're going for Erratis experience. I almost always get experience for Erratis. Okay, we're going to go for the Mark of Vengeance.
Serve me well, my minion.
We're definitely going to go for Moaning Chains next, however, so don't be too sad. We'll get the Moaning Chains. They'll be there. As for our points, Heimdall has been very safe. And I would like this accuracy, so I might go one attack, and then next turn we'll get accuracy, and then we'll just be done for a while. I do think my threshold for accuracy has increased from 130, which is where I used to be safe, up to 140. A long time ago, actually. 120 used to be my threshold, but after playing for a while, and by the consultation of Solus, I increased it to 130, and now by further consultation from Solus, I've increased it to 140. So 140 is my ideal accuracy number. Of course, that's irrelevant if you're using the mechanical eye, which makes it so you can't miss, but we don't have one of those just yet. I think I'm going to pick up the Advanced Doctorate. This allows us to heal for more when we use Distillation, which we're going to end today on a single distillation. I don't want to be too greedy here.
It's no gold, but
I want to be a little safe. And we'll begin next time with our first, well, another battle. The minor and double conscript? I don't know why I cannot tell their picture apart. Double hunky. Oh, great. Let me just verify real quick. Okay, you can hit minions in the third position. Critical hit stun. Oh, so it's actually quite in my interest to lower their luck using Azrael. And minors, you can hit anyone with this. Oh, great. Fantastic. Oh, and that moves him. It doesn't move us. Okay. For some reason, I thought they had a pull. So this can only hit the first two positions. This is his double attack, which makes him very dangerous. Okay. Okie dokie. I have a better understanding. Also, our goal this time, a little bit of spoiler here. I want to unlock the Humanorium tokens that we don't have, which is one of the second off bosses, something on the 5th floor, and 2 of the last bosses. So we won't be able to complete it this run. But I do want to take our steps towards completing it. And who is our first boss? It is, drumroll please. That's a terrible drumroll. Oh, the original first floor boss, the Taskmaster. Okay. I haven't seen him in a while. That's going to be fun. So thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Iratus has returned, and we are going to conquer Eternal Harvest 5, the greatest difficulty in the game by any means necessary. And I hope that you look forward to our eventual victory. Bye-bye.